Hello and welcome to episode 9 of the Core 4 podcast. With me today, I have my usual co-hosts, LJ Ruiz, Amari Hernandez, and Jeffrey Sarmiento. And we have a very, very special guest, Jonathan, the coach, Goffman, is here today. How are you feeling, John, in this quarantine? What's been going on? How are you feeling?
I feel good. It feels good to look at you, bright four faces of the future. I know if we're going to get out of this quarantine, it's going to be up to you all, which makes me a little bit nervous, but it's all good. It's all good.
Don't worry about it. We're all staying home.
Amar, you look like you should drive the car with a bike helmet as well on. Like double protection.
So, leading into our topics today, yes, that's our special guest, the coach, Goffman. As you can see, me, LJ, and Jonathan are wearing jerseys that reference the late, great Chicago Bulls, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, and Dennis Rodman. Pretty much the entire sports world has been paying attention to this great 10-part documentary, The Last Dance. Episodes 3 and 4 came out on Sunday. We're going to be reviewing them, debating a few things that happened in these episodes, and leading eventually to a debate about American sports coaches. So we're going to start off by talking about the highlight of the third episode, Dennis Rodman. And guys, I mean, it was just unheard of the things that he did as a player. You know, the off the court antics are unheard of to this day. So Jonathan, you lived through this. Maybe you could speak to what was going on at the time with Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, so I grew up in Denver, so I mean obviously like the Nuggets, but it was almost like how the kids today like are bandwagon fans with like the Warriors or any team that LeBron's on, where like even if you hated the Bulls, you loved the Bulls just because they were so great to watch. And for me, I love Dennis Rodman just because he was just that player that was just crazy. And, you know, nowadays you have, you know, players, you know, on Instagram acting out, or, you know, they see video clips of them partying. But, I mean, Dennis Rodman was the player that, I mean, I remember one game he went for a rebound, tripped on like a newspaper reporter or like a photographer that was right there on the sideline, and he kicked him in the nuts. Like, he was crazy. And, I mean, before, like, Iverson and all the other players with tattoos, no one in the NBA had tattoos. And if they did, they covered them up with arm sleeves. It was really like a clean league. So Rodman was the first player that was, I mean, of course, the dyed hair was one thing, but I mean, to really show off his tattoos. So I just really loved just everything about him. And in the time, he was perceived as this like weirdo, but like now every player that is kind of out there or, you know, dresses crazy, you know, like you see Russell Westbrook coming to the stadium, he has like a funky Gucci look. That was nothing compared to what Rodman used to do, you know, and all that is based off of like what he does. I mean, I don't think these people wake up and say like, oh, I'm doing this because of Rodman, but Rodman like made it a thing before it was a thing.
Right. Anyone else have any thoughts on this?
I thought it was so like crazy, like the hair. It would be like a new one every single game. Like it was like insane. And I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't know if you guys knew this. It was pretty cool. The one where it looked like leopard print.
Yeah, that was my favorite one.
It was actually 33s around his whole head.
For Scottie,
I didn't even know that.
It was Scottie Pippen's first game after his injury. So it looked like leopard print, but it was actually the number 33 all around his whole head. So I thought that was pretty cool. I just found that out like a couple days ago on Instagram.
Amari, do you have a favorite Dennis Rodman hair?
I like the ice cream cone one he did. That it was like different colors.
Yeah.
I really like that one. A real famous one he did was the smiley face. I really like that one.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that Dennis Rodman is probably my top 3 favorite players of all time. I think he's one of the top 3 greatest rebounders, even though that wasn't his job. It's just I never knew that Dennis Rodman was that smart when it came to the physics of basketball, and it just blew my mind, that episode of what he said.
Yeah, I mean, it was truly like, because all of us, obviously, we didn't see it. So Rodman was just the crazy guy, the rebounder, the guy that pushed everyone around. But what was so fascinating about that episode to me was that he could be that crazy, he could be that off completely, but be so smart at the same time. Have such a high basketball IQ. That's unheard of. Anyone that you see now that claims to be that type of crazy role player, hustler guy tends to not really be there as much for the team, in terms of being smart for the team. But it seemed like Rodman was really smart on defense. He knew when to foul. He knew when not to foul. And, I mean, that was just such a fascinating thing to see.
Yeah, they actually changed a rule because of Rodman. So what he used to do is like he would go crazy and dive for the ball, and you used to be able to call timeout in the air as you grabbed the ball. So you used to be, like, go lunge for the ball, call a timeout before you like fall, and they changed it because of Rodman. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like even like the whole stat line, like where he'd have games with 0 points and 20 plus rebounds, like that's not heard of anymore. Like most of these guys do both. This guy was just straight rebounds. That's all he cared about, and he passed it right back out.
And what was really cool was the fact that, like I was kind of saying, he could be that guy that they just needed to rebound and do the dirty work. But when Scotty went out, he was able to be the second guy. He may not have been as good, but he was able to be a top player when he had to be.
Yeah, and I think, like, when you think about, like, like people always want to, like, compare people, and, like, the first name that always came out was, like, Draymond Green. And, like, I guess you could say in the sense of, like, they're both attitudes, but, like, Draymond's also stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Draymond also, like, gets kicked out of games for kicking people in the nuts. Whereas, like, Rodman, like, I don't know, he just, like, he was crazy, but he also, like, he knew what to do, and,
he had common sense.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like Draymond used to do those things because he knew that these players didn't really need him as much. They were gonna win without him either way. Like, I feel like if Rodman wasn't there, that's a big part of the team missing. Like,
Rodman was pure, man. Draymond's an actor. He's an actor. He's trying to be that way so that we have these type of conversations about him instead of Rodman. He's an actor, and that's the big difference. Rodman was such a pure athlete and human being, and that's the big difference for me. And it was just really cool what I really liked about the documentary was how they were giving them the phone to show what each other were saying.
Yeah.
And you could just see when they gave Rodman that tape of Michael, like, recalling that, he knew exactly the type of thing that was going to happen there, the 88 hours in Vegas.
The crazy thing, too, about Rodman is and that was really cool to see in that episode, was you're watching Jordan overcome the bad boys, but also Rodman was on that team. Yeah. And Rodman won 2 championships, like, with them. And now he's on the Bulls where he won 3. I mean, like, like everyone talks about Kobe and Jordan, but, like, this man won 5 championships on 2 different teams and played a role in both of them. Like, that's wild. And became a different player when he went to the Bulls and still was needed. So, I mean, that's just wild.
It's incredible. Any last thoughts before we move on, Jeff or Amari? Anything?
I think that, I don't know, what really, like, I find mind-boggling is you remember the scene where he gets to Vegas, the motorcycles are waiting for him, finishes his, what was it, Miller Lite, Bud Light, whatever it was.
Miller Lite.
Throws the can and just hops on the bike and just goes away.
Helmet.
Like, that's crazy that no one would ever get away with that today.
Or even after the interview, his post-game interviews when he's talking to reporters and he has a beer in his hand. And, like, he wasn't doing it to be crazy. He's just like, that's just who he was.
His lifestyle. And, like, the scene where he's lifting weights and taking shots at the same time.
How about when he showed up to practice and the dudes were in pajama pants?
Yeah, he did.
Everyone's in workout uniforms. This dude's in pajama pants and, like, Jordan's, like, dogging him. But at the same time, like, and I think we didn't touch on that is how, like, you think, like, you bring Rodman to a team and, like, it's not going to work. Like, Kevin Durant didn't work really at the Warriors. Like, there was beef towards the end. But, like, it was, like, perfect. Phil Jackson embraced him. The players embraced him. Here's the craziest guy who used to be an enemy of Michael Jordan, and now they're boys. It's like that. That's just a championship.
Like nowadays, these guys would hold grudges and it wouldn't work. They take it so serious. Like Jordan easily could have just not wanted him on the team. And if Jordan said he didn't want him on the team, he wouldn't have been on the Bulls. So like I guarantee, like he definitely was like perfectly okay with it, and it worked out.
Yeah.
My favorite part was during during the sit-in interviews that they had halfway, that they were talking to Dennis, and then Dennis was talking about like the physics of how to get the rebound, and he was like, "Oh, well, it goes here, it's gonna go there. If it's gonna go there, it's gonna go here. If it's gonna go here, it's gonna go there." And I thought it was so funny because I thought he sounded completely maniacal when he was doing those things, but it's just in his head, it's all like math, it's all like physics for him, and it's just amazing.
Right.
I think it's incredible.
Yeah, I actually completely agree. And now that I'm giving more thought to that scene, it really was. It was like a poetry in motion kind of thing. Just watching him talk about literally just tipping a ball up and down, but he made it seem like it was some science, which I guess it is in a sense. But it was just he's just so like in touch with that. It was really great.
100%.
And so we're gonna stay on the topic of The Last Dance, but we're gonna move on to pretty much the kind of climax of these two episodes, which was the Bulls finally overcoming those bad boy Pistons, who had eliminated them twice in a row in 88 and 89. Keep in mind, this was, of course, the series, them beating them, that kind of cleared the way for them to dominate the East for the next 8 years. So this had a lot of meaning, this series. They swept them out of the building. They completely embarrassed them. And when I say they swept them out of the building, they really did. The Pistons walked off the court, led by Bill Laimbeer and Isaiah Thomas, with time still to – well, as time expired. I'm sure John remembers this a little bit better than me. And without shaking any player's hands. And obviously that is a known ritual in sports. So we're all going to give our take on whether that was completely unsportsmanlike or whether you can kind of understand and vouch for these guys. Whoever wants to start can take it away. Amari.
Okay. This might seem like a joke, but this is legitimately the way that I look at it. Now, obviously, as most of you probably know here, the beef that Pusha T had with Drake about a year ago, 2 years ago. Now, the way that I look at it is that I compare that to the underdog, the bad team versus the good team, which is obviously the Bulls. Now, the way I look at it is that it comes to an effect that obviously the way the Bulls relate to Drake is that they're the most known. And then we have over here, I just completely blanked out. What was the other team? This is embarrassing. The Pistons, I knew. Okay. So I completely blanked out. I don't know what happened there. So the Pistons, I relate to Pusha T. Now, what did they do against the Bulls? What they did was they overpowered them, not by skill, even though you could say it was kind of there, because they also did have Hall of Famers on their team. But they completely overpowered them when it came to the mental aspect of the game. Now, if you look at it this way, we know that we don't have to shake hands with you, but we're going to destroy you mentally when we do that. So I feel like I understand where they came from. And like John was saying earlier, at that time when we were relating it to Rodman, these things were acceptable. The horseplay was acceptable. So I see where they were coming from at a mental standpoint, but from a player standpoint, like you have to be a good player and shake hands. I didn't really understand it, but if you guys see where I'm coming from when it comes to beating someone mentally, I
get it. Like I understand where they were coming from, and honestly, I was talking to Jacob about this like the other day. Like I feel like I don't think it was right that they didn't shake any hands, but I feel like the Bulls also were like taking offense to it the past few years. That like the Bulls shook their hands, but like no one really said they had to. Like you guys just lost 2 years in a row. Like the Pistons have kind of all the right to do whatever they want until you guys beat them. And I feel like I see both sides. The Pistons kind of were like little crybabies at the end, basically. Like they just couldn't handle losing finally after 2 years. But I feel like the Bulls did a lot of complaining, which the Pistons were allowed to do anything they really wanted because they kept winning and they were champions.
Now
and they were so good.
you know who's the man, bro? Kevin McHale, bro. That's a man right there. He came. I remember. I don't know if you guys remember that one clip in the series yesterday that he came up to them, to Isaiah Thomas and all of them, and they were like, yo, he was like, you guys are gonna shake my hand. We're gonna meet up again when they faced them in the fight, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
Yeah.
No, see, I don't know. I have a different take because that Kevin McHale thing, if you look at it, Kevin McHale wasn't going to shake hands. Isaiah was kind of like walking him down as though like, yo, you're just going to like walk off the court. And it was kind of like one of those things. It wasn't like he was shaking his hands. And it was like a shake of her hands kind of like at the last like thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like, okay, we'll do it. Okay.
Yeah, and I think overall, I don't think it matters. Like, I'm a coach, and I'm like a middle school basketball coach. So, like, win or lose, we shake hands. But I'm also, like, teaching youngsters the game. And so I always look from that aspect. So as this, I think, number one, they brought it back to that the Celtics did it to them when they lost. And so I don't think it was, like, a poor sport. You know, like, and you can see the video when Leitner, like, kind of goes to Isaiah. You could literally see it where he says, like, yo, like, he whispers, like, yo, let's just walk off the court.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think it was a thing where they were just like, man, they beat us. Like, they got swept. I think it was more just like, yo, man, these guys, let's go. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I think it gets blown out of proportion. But as like a coach, I would never look at it as like a poor sport. I think, and like, you know what? I love rivalries. You know what I hate? I hate the start of games when I see players shaking hands before they do the jump ball. I don't like that. I don't like when LeBron plays against Chris Paul, and I know they were on vacation 2 weeks ago. Like, I don't like that shit. Yeah. And straight up, like, I don't want people to throw bows, but at the same time, I like good rivalry. And I coach against certain coaches where, yeah, I shake their hands at the last game, but, like, those guys. And before the game, I'm telling my middle school kids, these guys. They beat us last year. I'm saying, these guys. Does everyone remember when they beat us last year and we were crying? Remember that anger and go out there. And I'm going to shake their hands, win or lose. And I also think my last point on this is this gets talked about because they were the bad boys. Just like Isaiah Thomas said, no one said anything when it was Larry Bird walking off the court. And also nowadays, if you look, when Coach K of Duke loses to a ass team, watch Coach K in the handshake line. He hardly shakes anyone's hand. It's a loose hand. He'll skip everyone. He doesn't say hi to the coach. You know what I mean? So, like, and that's Coach K of Duke. But then he'll lose in, like, the first round of the NCAA, go into the other team's locker room and be like, hey, you guys played well. But if you look at Coach K, he doesn't shake other teams' hands when they get beat in regular season games. And no one says anything. But it was because there was the bad boys.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, they had that role, like,
yeah. But
So
Horace Grant's line was great, calling them some straight up bitches. But
no,
I like the line, but I don't think it was that bad.
Yeah,
moral of the story, these guys.
I have to say, it's really unbelievable because right after the show, John DM'd me on Instagram that quote from Horace Grant, which I had obviously just heard, and I was like, yeah, facts, whatever, totally. And every single day since I watched the episode, I keep changing my mind because it's just one of those things. First off, no matter what, I don't think it's anything that we should be mad at them personally about. Like, I don't think you have to say Isaiah Thomas isn't a good guy, anything like that.
Yeah.
My initial reaction was when I saw Magic Johnson, who they then beat easily in the finals, say all these great things about Jordan, shake his hand, about the team. That's when I was like, okay, the difference is there. You're seeing a difference in people, a difference of respect. But then I saw Isaiah Thomas talking yesterday about it. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but they had him separately on ESPN after basically reacting because it was Jordan's documentary. He didn't know the guy they were going to make him out to be. And obviously Jordan didn't say great things about him. And when I saw Isaiah Thomas talking about the fact that they kind of felt disrespected, and also the way that Jordan and these Bulls were talking about the city of Detroit as a whole. They were shitting on the city. They were saying that's how they are in Detroit. That's how they are basically saying, making Chicago seem kind of stuck up. which obviously in some cases isn't true. So when I heard that, that started to make me think maybe the Bulls are just overthinking and they're trying to add another thing to give them this perfect legacy that they already have. Like, oh, we got teams not even shaking our hands, right? And so when I heard that, that really made me torn. One thing, though, that Isaiah Thomas said was that nobody did it, even though the year before you could see the clip of Jordan going around and shaking all the Pistons' hands. So on that end, that was kind of a lie. So I'm very torn, but if I had to choose who was in the right or wrong, I would say that they should have just shook their hands, but I get it. That would really be my closing statement on this.
I personally don't get it. You lost. Shake their hands. Respect them. Give them their credit where it's due. Shake their hands. Like, I personally, especially after watching this whole documentary, I have no respect for those bad boys Pistons. Because you see players today, like LeBron getting compared, like LeBron wouldn't survive. Nobody would survive. That wasn't real basketball. You don't throw punches playing defense. You don't throw elbows like that. That's not real basketball in my eyes. So it's like, and I feel like it just catapults Jordan's legacy, the fact that he worked so hard and they lost those 2 years and then they were able to finally that third year beat them. But you got to give credit where it's due. Like, the Bulls definitely deserved at least a handshake.
I agree with you on the point you made about the basketball thing. Like, I don't understand that was their rule, but it's not. That's not. But like, it's true. It's not bad. Like, that's not what you're taught to do.
They called it the Jordan
basketball
rule. They called it the Jordan rule.
Yeah.
Hack the shit out of him when he's on the ground, when he goes in the air. Like,
and the fact that that was the only way that they thought that they could. I think it's the only way that they were like that was the only way they can get to him.
They deserve, like,
and it
like,
worked.
you call them Hall of Famers.
Work.
Like, it worked, but like you call them Hall of Famers, but it was such a bull strategy in my eyes. Like, what? That's not real basketball.
And like, I think it was also lack of rules in the league that none of them were getting like really thrown out for anything because it's not really they didn't have much rules back then. And there was also hard fouls regularly that just were regular common fouls, and nowadays they would be thrown out of the game. So it's just,
or at least a flagrant or a technical or something like that.
I think John has a response here, guys.
I think you can't knock the bad boys for what they did. They're a product of their environment and in the times. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't know how the NBA was going to be 30 years ago. So if they're not going to call those fouls, then you're going to foul the guy. And like, don't act like other players weren't getting fouled too. You know what I mean? That's just how the game was back then. And it's not like and like, of course, when they do the montage that's 12 seconds talking about the Jordan rules, it looks terrible. But if you like watch this series, Jordan didn't get beat up every time he went to the lane. My man still got 40 points. You know what I mean? But that's just how it was. And it's just like, and you know what? I'd rather see that than see nowadays players
100%,
on the 3-point line shooting the ball, knowing they're not going to make it just to get the foul. Like, I love watching James Harden, but I'm talking about now the other players that know they have no shot and then, like, chuck it off. I mean, you have to think about the NBA nowadays. There's a rule now for anti-flopping. Like, do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, there is.
I can't even watch the NBA until it's the fourth quarter because it's so slow with fouls.
That's exactly what Jacob said.
There's a flopping rule. They throw people out of the game for flopping. That's crazy. Look what the game has come.
With John here, you can ask LJ. I've gotten on countless PS4 parties and be like, I can't watch this game, man. It's so much stopping. It's so much crying. I
can't watch the beginning of the game.
I really do wish I was alive at that time to watch that. I really do.
I have to say that I completely 100% I agree with John on a lot of points. There's only the reason why I wouldn't say that the Jordan rule that the bad boys had was such a bad thing is because you have these Hall of Fame coaches, Hall of Fame players that had a rule inputted to stop Jordan. Now, then you have, for example, the closest guy we can get to him is Shaq. You have Hall of Fame coaches like you have Coach Popovich saying in the tip-off of the beginning of the game to foul Shaq. So it's like, what Coach Popovich, is he considered a bad coach because
he win the game?
I think that's a great strategy. The guy can't shoot a free throw, like.
But still, like, he's getting hard fouled. It doesn't
That's
look
yeah.
like
That
that
because,
300
well,
pounds.
well, Jeff, you were saying that you don't give them the respect due to the fact of the Jordan rule, but then that the same thing can go for the Shaq, the free throws on Shaq. You're
No,
doing the
because
same thing.
it's not to the same extent. They're not throwing physical punches or elbows or intentionally hurting this guy. They're fouling Shaq, like whether it be an intentional foul or just to make sure he doesn't get a bucket, because you know he's the most dominant player of all time. So if you find a way to stop him in that way, that's a flaw to his game, and you take full advantage to it. But I feel like the bad boy Pistons just weren't playing real basketball, the basketball that I've been watching for all these years.
Well, the basketball that we've all been watching all these years is not real basketball at all compared to the 80s and 90s, in my opinion. Because you guys, as you guys know here, I'm all 80s and 90s when it comes to that. And I agree with John again. It's all 3-point shooting. First of all, I think all of us can agree here. There's no more center position in the NBA. It's unheard of. It's not.
The basketball was different back then.
There's no more. How do you have a guy like Brook Lopez, 7'1", shooting threes? The only guy that size that can shoot threes is Kareem, and Brook Lopez is no Kareem. So it's like it's so. What I was saying practically before the break is that I was saying how there's no more center position in the NBA anymore. I would say there's about 3 guys. What just happened? Okay. I would say there was about 3 guys that are in the NBA now, that are center position, but there's nothing like that anymore. And what I was
Who
making
are those 3 guys?
I would say Rudy Gobert, even though he's like, he's still not a Shaq, even though we're never probably going to see that ever again. I'd say Rudy. I'd say Jokic, even though I know he's like he's practically not a center, but he has the body of a center. Yeah. If you see where I'm coming from.
Clint Capella, I guess.
Capella, maybe, yeah. Capella's a small center.
Embiid, Drummond.
Embiid does not. Embiid shoots threes and dribbles up and down the court. Just.
That's what me. Yeah,
bro.
That's exactly
Embiid is also great in the paint.
That's not what we're talking about.
I think it just comes back to like I get what Jeffrey's saying about how, like that wasn't real basketball, but I think they're product of their times. And like you could even talk about football. What is a catch? What's pass interference? Like back in the day, it was different. You know what I mean? And like, let's not forget about, the Saints and how they used to pay extra to hurt quarterbacks. Like that's just how like it was. And if you want to sit here and say like, and if you want to sit here and say like the Saints are the only organization that ever were trying to hurt other players, like that's just how it was. And like the times change and the league changed. So like that was basketball back then, and they were the best at it. So like I'm so sorry to interrupt you, John.
What? But Jeff, who do you love?
Greg Williams, Joe Vitt.
Oh, I thought you were referring to like Sean Payton. I'm like,
yeah, I do love Sean Payton. I think he's a great coach.
How do you not respect the bad boy Pistons, but you respect a headhunting coach?
Very true.
Well, they received their punishment.
And defensive coordinator.
They received their punishment.
So that gives them justification for you to like them.
You caught him here, buddy.
Jeff, it's over then? So it's just over? Just because you did the punishment?
They received the punishment. They don't do it anymore.
So wait, that gives them justification for you to like them.
They're great coaches regardless.
Yeah, but Isaiah Thomas was never suspended from the league for a year.
Exactly.
I did it. Like, they didn't say that. They got caught.
Exactly.
They didn't willingly do their time.
And what do you mean they didn't willingly do their time?
So you're saying if the Pistons got
forced to. They didn't have a choice.
If the Pistons got in more trouble, then you wouldn't think it was a problem.
No. But then that's a whole different debate.
What?
That's a whole different debate, because what John is saying, he's saying that the game has evolved as it has in basketball. But you're talking about a whole other scandal.
No, we're talking about how you just said you don't like how the bad boys Pistons did what they did to physically hurt Jordan, but you respect Sean Payton, a headhunting coach that got caught because he got his time.
I think he's a great coach, though, and I think Greg Williams is a great defensive coordinator.
So then you gotta respect Isaiah Thomas and the Bad Boys for being back-to-back champions.
I don't take that away from them, but I just don't think that's basketball. Like I don't
Well, that's
see
not
that
football.
as real basketball.
It's not
Yeah, but
football
at the
then.
same time,
And
football
they
is
serve the punishment. You're right. I don't say that I condone what they do, but they're great coaches in my
They
eyes.
were great
And
players.
they're a great team.
So Jeff, then apologize for what you said about the bad boys.
For what? Don't make me start.
Dude, you
Don't
literally
make me
said.
start.
I just like
You
to say
literally said. I
Amari
think
caught Jeff here. I think Amari
Don't
caught
make
Jeff.
me start with the Magic. How I feel about Magic Johnson and
No,
that
don't
whole era.
start.
Magic
Okay,
Johnson's a
so I
soft
won't
ass.
start.
Magic Johnson was soft though. He wasn't Isaiah Thomas, and that's what was great about Isaiah Thomas.
I won't
Isaiah
start.
Thomas is one of the most underrated players in the league, like in
I
history.
won't-
And Isaiah Thomas is an asshole, and that's okay.
I
Yeah.
won't start with the Magic Johnson, how I feel about players in the
Don't
80s
start.
compared to today.
I'm
But
just very confused. I'm left astounded over
All right,
what
can
we.
dig
I
them.
don't see how
What's the
they're the
last
same
topic?
though. I don't see how they're the same.
They are.
How was headhunting football?
Honestly, the football one is worse because you can like harm somebody forever for that. They can mentally be messed up for the rest of their life.
Yes.
So just
How
because
do
they
you
just 'cause they
respect
got
that?
caught,
A coach that in like what?
That like condones it.
he paid them with cash on the side if they got him hurt.
Yes, but it's part of the game too.
Oh, here we go. Now that's
What?
part of
Is it not
Okay,
part
all right, next
so
topic.
no one could get hurt.
not
No
part
one
of
could
the
get hurt in
game.
football.
Jeff, that's
We're gonna
wrong.
move
No one could
on.
get hurt in
Completely
football.
wrong.
No one could get hurt. No one has ever gotten hurt ever.
What?
They're not doing it. You don't do it on purpose. You don't hurt the quarterback forever.
But they got punished
Let's
for
agree
it.
to disagree, but both are champions. Sean Payne's a champion. Bad Boys are champions, and they did it. They just did it. Whatever. And you know what? That's what
they
makes
did it.
sports
They
great
just
because
did it.
we wouldn't be talking about it if it was like, man, that handshake was great. Like that's what is sports. That's what's fun.
I agree. Well,
You gotta have a
I would
villain.
the conversation. It's
You
fun.
don't want to watch a Marvel movie if everyone's shaking hands. You gotta have it.
That's
But I
true.
don't take anything away from that team. It's just the
You
only
did,
thing
though.
that I
You
said.
said
No,
it.
no, no.
You said-
What
you
I
said-
said. What I said was that I think it
Don't edit it
catapults
out.
Jordan.
Don't edit it
I
out.
won't. I won't.
You
I
took
said
away
that-
their Hall of Fame. You said that's not Hall of Fame people.
No,
I think you said
Hall of
something
Fame.
like that.
Anyone makes a Hall of Fame just because they're famous. Just because they're famous.
What?
Joe Namath.
What?
Joe Namath made the Hall of Fame. He did not have great stats whatsoever.
He won a Super Bowl for the Jets.
Exactly.
It's the same reason why Eli is going to
That's
go
why
in
he's
the Hall of
famous.
Fame.
He was Broadway
Yeah, but
Joe.
Eli
And I'm
didn't
the
start.
biggest Jets fan here.
What? But when's the
But
last time the Jets went to the Super Bowl?
No, but listen.
What does
That-
that
that's-
have anything to do with
That
it?
does
Because
that doesn't have anything to do
that
with it.
adds up to Joe Namath's credentials.
No, Joe
does.
Namath made the Hall of Fame in like 1970 something. Relax. But
And were they in the Super Bowl since 1970 something?
that's so irrelevant to the conversation and the point I'm gonna make. The only reason why I said I don't respect the Bad Boy Pistons is because I mentioned the fact that it catapults Jordan's legacy and how people like LeBron are being downplayed, or even the great players we see today. That's the only reason why I said that. Why I don't think it's real basketball. I'm not saying they don't deserve to win those two finals.
No, is that
don't-
where before we change the topic, what the confusion was is that you said that what the Pistons did specifically, you said was not basketball.
Yeah.
But then we get confused because paying people on the low to headhunt illegally is not considered football. That's where we're confused.
But
Like-
you're talking about late hits in a fully contact sport where guys
That doesn't
their
that
careers
doesn't
are
give it
ended.
that doesn't give it
I think they're two
justification.
completely different things, and maybe you took what I said in a whole different way.
Is that it doesn't justify just because it's that sport that you can headhunt illegally.
It doesn't justify that in a sport where you're supposed to guard somebody trying to get a ball in a hoop.
Okay,
It doesn't
but that
justify
means you're
them getting
agreeing
clocked
with
in the
that,
face.
yes, which means that's what we're
No,
trying to say.
I disagree with you because it's a fully contact sport. People die. People have brain like CTE. People have all these different diseases. Like
Doesn't
Wayne
matter.
Corbett. I know Wayne Corbett right now is like so effed up. Like his body is like, he has the body of like an 80-year-old man, and he's only like what, 50? Like
That's how
it's just
basketball
about
used to be.
it's just a byproduct of the game. But
That's
I
how
wasn't.
basketball used to be. That's why Larry Bird retired so early because his back was bad. Like, that's just how it was. I mean, think about it. Like, LeBron's able to play 15 years and still be a beast because, like, this dude's not getting hand checked.
But I don't
Jordan
think
didn't play that
I don't think he should be downplayed in that way. I still think he's the second greatest player of all time. I
LeBron?
think he deserves the same respect. Yes, I think he
Oh, we don't
deserves the
got
same
enough time.
respect.
We don't got enough time to go into that.
Yeah.
But you know what the thing about it, player or not, LeBron, because I know we touched on legacy and Jordan. LeBron's legacy, even if he wins 3 more championships in LA, which he won't, it'll never be the same as Jordan because, like you said, Jordan stayed with the same team. He overcame these teams to build his legacy, whereas LeBron went here, went there, got this guy, went that guy.
Yeah,
like, yes, the Jordan,
like,
he got
didn't win-
Pippen
he never
and
won.
Rodman, but, like, LeBron did things to get those championships, whereas Jordan, like, overcame to get those championships.
I
That's-
agree
that's a
100% with
podcast
you.
difference.
I'm glad that I think John is the only one that understood what I was trying to say. How that catapults.
But no, I agree with
How that
that.
catapults
statement.
Jordan's legacy.
I agree with that statement as well. I
So then
agree.
why?
And
So
this
then
is
I don't
my-
understand why you have to. Why everything completely contradicts itself when it's two different things: the football aspect of headhunting and the basketball of the '80s. I don't downplay.
because Jeff, he's bringing up. We're talking about someone's legacy. Okay, when he brings up
Okay.
LeBron,
And that's
We're
what I meant by this statement
Mhm.
of Jordan. I think his legacy is a lot greater that he beat a team like the Bad Boy Pistons. I wasn't saying the Bad Boy Pistons were a bad team or anything like that. How I think you're trying to play it, but
well, you say you don't respect them,
right.
but how do you respect Sean Payton? They're both terrible things.
Go, Christian. Go living.
So you think the Bad Boy Pistons were a terrible thing too?
I think we're gonna have to agree to disagree.
where that's what we're trying to say
Like-
to you.
We're gonna
No,
agree
that's what you just said to me.
for time constraints, fellas. Maybe we'll continue this on another show. Who knows? But we have to get to our main debate, and this is something that has come up very subtly throughout the years of us debating. And we're going to be talking about coaches, and who better than to have the coach Goffman with us for that. So what we're going to do is first, just like we did with Rodman, we're going to give a quick, each of us give a thought on Phil Jackson. And then we're going to move on to do a very interesting debate, which is our Mount Rushmore of coaches in the major American sports,
So are we gonna?
that being NBA, NFL, MLB.
So we're gonna
Not
do.
soccer?
What do you say?
Not
No,
soccer?
no soccer. No soccer.
so
No
we're gonna
soccer
do
on the
one.
show.
So just one from each, right? Because
Let's just quickly talk about Phil Jackson. I
I
mean,
think we should do Mount Rushmore. I think we should stick on the topic of basketball because we're going to get too crazy with all other
Yeah,
stuff.
I agree with that too. I
Okay.
think we could do.
It could be
Mount Rushmore
college basketball too, but just basketball.
all basketball show today,
Naismith.
Gotcha.
except Sean Payton. I'm just gonna say a quick thing about Phil Jackson, and then if you guys want to touch upon, or we could just keep going. What was really cool and unique about Phil, and it's just similar to Rodman. What was so cool and why that team was so incredibly special and were able to get through so much was he let his guys do what he had to do. And he was able to bring the strategy, but not overload the strategy. Whereas a guy that pops in my head, not that I'd ever compare them, is like Mike D'Antoni, right? Wherever he goes, exactly what he does is happening, no matter what, which is his isolation basketball for the best player on the team. For example, there's plenty of coaches wherever they go, they're going to have their system, and that's it. But it was clear that Phil was going to cater to his players, but he was still going to bring the triangle offense. He was still going to bring really smart schemes, but he was going to give them a chance to be them, and he was going to let them figure out the right amount of things. And that's why he had the perfect balance. Whereas some coaches are on the other side. Some coaches let anything happen, and they just get completely overtaken, and obviously that doesn't work. Or they try and do too much, which I think is what D'Antoni does. For example, and a lot of coaches, they're trying to do too much. They're trying to force guys into a system and overload them with that system, and it doesn't work. And Phil had this perfect balance. And that's why, for me, he's going to end up on my Mount
I
Rushmore.
just want to touch upon that. Like, I think he's gonna be on the Mount Rushmore, but like when you think about it, he's had a very weird like coaching career because it's like you have the Bulls with Jordan, then you're on the Lakers with insane players, and then that whole stint with the Knicks recently, like that didn't go well. That
He
Well,
didn't
he
wasn't
really
the
go
wasn't
coach.
well.
meant to be upstairs, and he
But what
wasn't
I'm
the
trying to
coach.
say is that I feel like he's also like he's a good coach, but he's also like a product of being lucky with the players that you have.
Well, I mean, that's one of the main things that I expect to come up in this debate.
Because
How much was Phil?
when you touch
Continue.
upon like because nowadays we can all agree nowadays there's a lot of coaches that are not coaching like back in the day, like Popovich. You got guys like Tyronn Lue who are sitting there, and I can guarantee you LeBron is running that practice. LeBron and the assistant coaches are running that practice. On the other hand, I got like the Lakers now, Frank Vogel. I feel like he really does coach. And I feel like he really does improve those young players. So that's why I don't really know how much Phil Jackson really did for the team and what they're really doing based on how good the players were on that team. Like they were going to be good either way.
I beg to differ. I think when you talk about NBA, which is besides maybe the NFL, is probably the biggest superstar type league with the egos. Yeah. And so the thing about NBA, I mean, yeah, you can't knock it. Like, he won it with Kobe and then he won it with Jordan. Like, you're going to win one or two with them no matter what. But this is a guy that not only changed his philosophy as a coach to try the triangle offense to make the team better, but statistically, they did get better. They didn't win the championship until doing the triangle offense and with Phil Jackson. And also, too, when it comes to NBA, not only do you have to be a coach, I think, with game plan, like Phil Jackson with a triangle offense, but to be able to manage the egos and everyone on that team. They won 2 back-to-back with the Lakers with Phil Jackson, even though Kobe and Shaq supposedly hated each other. Phil Jackson won 6 championships with Jordan. When you're talking about you're taking the craziest guy in the league, Rodman, the best player in the league, and Pippen, who his entire career had contracts disputes, with a manager, that GM that we're learning about had a lot of issues. So I think not only is he a great coach because of the basketball mind, but to be able to have an environment where you don't have those off the court issues. And that's what you have to like. I mean, look at LeBron firing coaches left and right. Look at the coach of the Nets that just got fired. Like, to have Michael Jordan the last season say, if Phil Jackson leaves, I leave, name one player of Jordan's caliber or even the top 10 that would ever say that. Nowadays, LeBron goes to a new team and you wonder how long the coach is going to last. And that's the sad thing. And I think that's why you have to give Phil Jackson so much credit.
Yeah.
Well, the reason that's a great point, and I agree with you, but you have to also look at it this way. LeBron's never had a Phil Jackson caliber coach. He's had plenty of other coaches. You're not going to compare Spoelstra to Phil Jackson.
I mean, but
I do think Eric Spoelstra was a good coach.
But Spoelstra's got to get some credit too.
Yeah,
and that's he's still coaching.
He still is a good coach. He still is a great coach.
They've always been relevant. They've never really gone off they're always in the playoffs.
And LeBron tried that same thing, and Pat Riley told him no. Like, we're keeping Spoelstra. We're keeping Spoelstra. He's going to be your coach. You're going to listen to Spoelstra. And they were a really good team. Although I don't know if you guys were kind of downplaying Greg Popovich earlier in the debate. Well, I do think Greg Popovich outcoached them, and that's why they won.
Yeah.
I think Greg Popovich is a great coach. I'm going to practically lean on to what Jeff said. I agree 100% with Jeff. Sadly, and I have a few reasons as to why I'm going to do it pretty quick, I will not put Phil Jackson in my Mount Rushmore of NBA coaches. I would definitely put Coach Popovich there. I think Coach Popovich, if not, you can argue or not that he's top 3 NBA coaches of all time. You can make a great argument why he's probably top 2. I would say that, just like LJ said, Phil Jackson just got lucky, okay, with the with the players he had, okay. The way I look at Phil Jackson is he's probably the Mike McCarthy of the NBA. The way I look at it as you reach this mountaintop and you win, and then the same playbook you have is going to bring you downhill. And clearly that was kind of occurring, if you can tell. Besides, I know the player issues, you can tell that was kind of going along with the Knicks. It's just the triangle offense was just not working anymore.
That doesn't work anymore.
What happened?
Yeah, like that doesn't work anymore. Like nowadays,
it doesn't work anymore. So I feel like, I don't know if you guys get the comparison I'm making with him and Mike McCarthy, because it's just yes, Jacob.
Well, you can finish. I was just saying I'll be next. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So that's practically the comparison I was making. I'm not downplaying the fact that Phil Jackson's obviously top 3, if not number 1, but I feel like he's had so many players by his side to lead him to championships. I feel like Popovich has had half those players, and he's accomplished practically almost like the second accomplished coach of all time. So I would put, for many reasons I'd have to search up, obviously, I'd put Coach Popovich above Phil Jackson.
And I see your point, but I disagree with it millions %. And I'm going to be completely honest with you for multiple reasons. First off, I don't think Mike McCarthy and Phil Jackson should ever be in the same sentence for the rest of my time.
He wasn't comparing them. He was just giving like a point, which is very understandable.
I heard the point, but it's just one of those things. Next, here's the problem.
What the hell?
What?
Amar, you just said that Phil Jackson wasn't in your top 4, so in your Mount Rushmore, and then you compared him to Mike McCarthy. Yes, then you compared him to Mike McCarthy.
Compare them.
I didn't compare them.
He said he was like them. He was like him.
What
just
they've
because
done? I said playbook. I specifically said playbook.
Okay. Fine. Whatever. Have that. Anyway, listen. Here's what I'm going to tell you.
Thank
and
you,
I'm not disputing Popovich could be better. He might be. But look, this is the thing about Phil Jackson that you have to understand. First off, I don't think overall he should be getting hate for what happened with the Knicks. It wasn't his fault. And he was never meant to be an executive. That was a complete reach. He was meant to be on the court calling plays. So I don't fault him for that at all. And here's the thing.
He did draft Porzingis.
He did, right?
That
so
wasn't bad.
You can't even say that he was the worst. I mean, it wasn't.
But where did that get us?
But it wasn't his fault the way they treated him. He was long gone by the time they started treating him like. He would have.
Yeah, but it's just obviously Porzingis is going to average 29 points per game because we literally had no one else. So what?
What do you mean? Obviously, we booed the pick. How did he find him? No one knew.
No. What we mean that, but I'm referring to, as you say, that he drafted Porzingis and he had a spectacular year. I'm not downplaying it, but obviously he's going to have a spectacular year when there's no one else on the team to support him.
But what are the odds he was going to go find that guy from Europe that no one ever heard of that is now one of the best players in the league?
He's not one of the best players in the league. That's not he's not one of the best players in the league.
Yes,
he's one of the best players in his position. He's like 3rd or 4th at his position.
Okay, but that's understandable.
He's
but in the league,
star.
He's not one of the best players in the league.
You can't still be salty about Kristaps wanting to leave the Knicks. Just stop.
How am I salty?
Just stop. The Knicks are horrible. The Knicks won't win anything. They haven't won anything in 20 years. They won't win for another 20.
I still don't want him.
Look, let me make my point.
I'm not salty. We're a trash-ass team. What do you want me to say? I can talk all I want, okay?
Give Kristaps his respect.
We're bad, okay? All right? Don't talk about the Knicks like that, bro. Continue, Jacob.
The truth about the thing about Phil Jackson is
Love you,
what
Jeff.
I'm hearing too much in the debate against him is I'm hearing too many what ifs and not enough what actually happened. Yes, he got Jordan. Yes, he got Kobe. But he executed. That's like you can't just use these what if situations like what if he did it? Where would he be? It's reality. What?
Jacob,
you're the king of them. You're the king of telling me you can't say what if. So I can't hear you disclaim this. It's not fair. I'm being completely serious.
I'm trying to say you Jacob, but you're the king of saying what ifs. You say that all the time. So how are you gonna go get your own point? You say what ifs.
I say what ifs, but I never said that he wasn't. I never say that people aren't what they are. I never say that.
What?
You never
What?
find an
I'm
example
confused.
of me.
I get what you're saying. I get
No,
what you're saying.
You know what? We don't have enough
what
time.
if the team would have won, but I never say what if this player wouldn't have been good. I never say that.
Also, if you really want to, I think if I
Jacob.
was Phil Jackson, I would feel so disrespected that my legacy is tainted because I won with the greats. And I think it's crazy how it's almost reverse with Brady and Belichick.
That's
Well,
not.
now people don't give Brady respect because they think it's all Belichick. And why is it like that in the NFL
Look,
but
Jacob.
not NBA?
Look, Jacob.
Brady's the greatest quarterback of all time. What else?
Jacob.
But wait. The
You
way
always
I
say
look
what
at
ifs with him. You say it all the time. You always say he never would have won with you. You say that he would not have won without Belichick.
But
You
Probably
here's the
always
wouldn't
say
have.
that.
The Patriots
okay.
were a horrible
That's another
franchise.
what if.
The
Just- we can't make
Patriots
what
were a
ifs.
horrible
when
franchise.
I never said but you just this is my point. Yes, things would have been different, but I never said either aren't what they are, because whether I like it or not, Brady and Belichick won 6 rings over 20 years. That's what actually happened. Phil Jackson actually won 11 rings. You can't possibly take that away from him. And I'm going to be completely honest with you.
I think.
And I know, Amari, in your head, you have this awful thought about Tim Duncan not being the player he was. Just like when you said the things about him when we debated about players. Yes, Popovich made his players a lot better, but he did not have Joe Schmoes. He had some of the greatest, including Tim Duncan. And now, in the last one, he had Kawhi Leonard.
David Robinson, too.
David Robinson.
Okay, but wait.
A
I
bunch
can
of
name.
players.
I can name about
Tony
6
Parker.
players off the top of my head that Pop had. I can name more than 10 that Phil Jackson's had. So it's like,
But you
But
can't
we even
do enough to take it away from Phil Jackson.
No, I see.
at all.
Okay, but I see what LJ is saying, because the way I look at it, you have someone like Tom Brady, okay? You guys can say right now at this point, and you could say 5 years ago, okay, that there's been 10 quarterbacks better than Tom Brady, okay? Off the top of my head, Aaron Rodgers, okay? You can say has been better than Tom Brady for the last 4 or 5 years, okay? Now, the way I look at it is that you replace Tom Brady in the Patriots with Aaron Rodgers, he might even do better. But you have a coach like Belichick who has a system. How, like you just said right now, Jacob, 20-year span, Belichick's been to the Super Bowl 8 times with Brady. You're telling me in 20-plus years, there hasn't been one defense that can stop the system that he has? It's not all the quarterback. If you put in a guy like Eli, Ben, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson in the Patriots' offensive system, they might even exceed more than what Tom Brady did. Because I think we can all agree here, for the past few years, Aaron Rodgers has been better than Tom Brady, right? I think we can all agree on that. So you can't put it aside from the fact that Belichick has a system. Clearly, in 20 years.
Technically, Jameis Winston was better than Brady last year, but I'm not going to take him over.
Stop it.
No,
Don't say that name. Don't say that name. Don't say that name.
I agree with you at all. I don't agree that Rodgers was better than Brady. I don't. He didn't win. Brady keeps winning. He never stops losing.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean. And if Rodgers is legitimately better than Brady, and this one wins and this one doesn't, it comes down to the coach. You just agree. You just said it. In other words, you just said it.
What's the argument here then?
Because
I think Jacob agrees with you, Amari.
No, Jacob's saying that
he's going to try and tie this back to the triangle offense not working today. That's a horrible, irrelevant point.
You have to also
anymore. First off. Second off, like we talked about for 10 minutes, the game has changed amazingly, and that's why it doesn't work. And third, the Knicks were trying to run it with players that were not good, and that wasn't – and sure, he shouldn't have tried to run it. But guess what? He still won 11 championships as an NBA head coach, and that's not what we're talking about. And also, the first 3 Bulls teams, yeah, they had Michael Jordan, the greatest player of all time, no disputably, undisputedly, absolutely greatest player of all time. But the rest of the team, besides Pippen, not that good at all.
What?
Not that good. My
Yeah.
point is, they weren't bad by any means, but it's not like you gave him 15. It's not like you gave him the All-Star team. On paper, though, that first three-peat was nowhere near the best team of all time. And what did they do? Three-peat. And you can't say he had nothing to do with it. He had a huge part to do with it.
We are saying, but you and Jeff highly disagree with the comparison that I'm making playbook style that him and McCarthy have. I don't know how you.
I think you also. I
never
think
didn't
John
work.
made a great point. Hold on, Jacob. I think John made a great point that Phil Jackson also had to deal with personalities like the clashing of Kobe and Shaq, and Dennis Rodman being a bozo, like a whole other crazy type of person. But then you have to also time back into the team and keep a whole team together and win consistently. Mike
And
McCarthy
they
hasn't
won
done
Yeah,
any of
but-
that.
They had
Mike
Jordan.
McCarthy won one Super
Jordan
Bowl.
Okay, but what I'm trying to say is that it's not even the rings, his style of play. That's what I'm trying to say. If Algie understands what I'm saying, I don't know how to make it
Style of
easier.
play worked. They won every single year.
So then
But what-
Mike McCarthy is a bad coach then. Phil Jackson is a great coach. Be all, end all,
Put Phil
period.
Jackson on another team.
What?
Put Phil Jackson on another team without Michael Jordan and Pippen and Dennis Rodman.
How are you going to not give him the credit, though?
I never said I didn't. I'm just saying that's what that point makes my point. What I'm trying to say is that I don't think he's the best coach of all time. I don't.
He's still on the Mount Rushmore of top 4 for NBA.
100%. But I think.
Which you, Omari, said. You said he wasn't, but.
So let's just run down everyone.
I said he wasn't my top one.
Fellas, yeah, we do. This is a great debate. I'm very glad we had it. We do have 4 minutes to go, so we really do have to run down. College basketball is included in this Mount Rushmore. Whoever wants to go first,
Jacob,
go ahead.
go
4 minutes on the clock. Hello? Anyone there?
Who's going?
Whoever wants to go first.
I'll go first. The coach from North Carolina. God bless him.
Roy Williams
Calipari?
or the old one?
Calipari,
Oh, wait, no, that's Kentucky, my bad.
Kentucky.
Dean
My bad,
Smith.
my bad.
No, I'm lying to you.
Smith?
What's his name? The one that was a coach before him that they showed him in the documentary.
John Wooden?
Yes.
Was that UCLA?
No.
Dean Smith.
Dean Smith.
Yes. Yes.
Is he
Jacob,
on
go.
your right? Are you going right now?
Yes, he's on my Mount Rushmore.
Who are the other three?
Oh well, I have him, Pop, Phil, and my fourth. It'd have to be Roy Williams. I love Coach K, but that's my personal favorite. I don't know.
I'll go Coach K, Pop, Roy, and I really don't know who my fourth is. I guess Phil.
You
But
got
So we
it.
have a
more
very
research-
close list.
If I did,
I'll
if
go
I did research, I
undisputedly
probably
Phil Jackson.
a different one.
Greg Popovich. I'll go. I'm gonna go K, and I'm gonna go Bobby
K.
Knight.
Yes.
Bobby Knight,
Yes. Ricky Bobby.
almost.
And
John-
John, you got your 4? Or should I
I'm
go?
gonna go.
More years of wisdom here.
I'm gonna go Phil Jackson. I'm gonna go Greg Popovich
Boo.
for and for college. You know, I'm gonna put Calipari on there
Mhm.
because he wins when he has the greatest recruits, and he also now in the one
Phil
and done era,
Jackson.
he's great with the one and done era, and that's a whole different type of coach. To get 5 new players and take them far, and then the next year have 5 new players. You know, Coach K, Dean Smith, he had Jordan for 3 years. Okay, like you have something to work with. Coach K, you know, a lot of these players, it's one and dones. You know, and so to be in the Final Four, or Elite 8, or Sweet 16 every year with brand new players, I mean, not to mention, I mean, he's a cheater, you know, but still, like, he also went with, and he's also gone with 3 or 4 different schools.
Yeah.
And then to round it out, I'm going to be a little biased. I'm going Jerry Tarkanian University Nevada, Las Vegas.
Okay.
All right.
All right, Jeff, do yours and take us out of here.
I'd probably put Calipari too. Then Phil Jackson, Pop, and Coach K. I think that would be my 4.
Terrible
We
list.
all probably we basically have the same list, everybody, because it's a very short list.
So I'll do the
They're
outro,
great.
guys. It was a great show today. Thank you for our special guest host, John, Coach John, special guest host. Thank you guys for watching. My name's Amari.
Big episode 10.
Yes, episode 10. We're gonna wait for the next 3 years for the Nets to go 3-peat, baby, with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. All right, we're gonna wait for that to happen.
Do they even have a coach? Hey, I could coach them. I could coach them right now to the playoffs.
Yeah, you could.
With one eye.
Absolutely.
With one eye.
Absolutely. If LeBron could do it,
That's a great ending. Great ending, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Later, guys.
Thank you.